Okay, now back to the random portion of these videos. We got 21 randoms left. Let's see what we roll next. It's going to be 6. Villainous Level 99. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about this show. We are in the middle of a villainous boom, so some of it's going to be good, but a lot of it's going to be trash. Let's see which one this is. Wow, I think that's the first time I've seen a villainous anime completely miss the point of villainous anime. I got 4 minutes into Villainous Level 99, and I'm calling it there because I had to look up the synopsis for this show. Normally, I don't do that because I just want to go in blind. But I was watching this, and I was like, am I watching the right show? There was no way that I couldn't be because I'm watching it on Crunchyroll. And then I read the description for it on Crunchyroll, and still I was like, am I watching the right show? Because I'm 4 minutes in, and the villainess hasn't even shown up yet. The main character, the person whose this story is entirely built around. They wasted 4 minutes of my time with the most inane, bland, tropey, cliched, uninteresting, unengaging, dumb otome game bullshit. Like, I can't even ring the isekai bell because I didn't get to the point where it told me that this was an isekai. I only know that from the description. Now, I probably would have gotten there if I wasn't fucking infuriated by the first 4 minutes of the show. I need you to understand what I'm talking about here. This show is wasting my fucking time. If you're watching a villainous anime at this point, you don't need the introduction to otome games. And if you do, you can wrap that shit up in 30 seconds. I don't need to see the actual, who I presume is the main character of the otome game. I don't need to see her being a fucking NPC and just running through the very standard fantasy otome game cliche tropes. Wasting my fucking time. Also, this show looks not good. I'll say this. It takes a lot to impress me with how terrible your CG carriages and horses are. But by God, this one's up there. I saw, literally, the second shot of the show. And I was like, oh no, we're in for some bad shit. This is some terrible CG horses and CG carriages. And the character designs are fucking bland as shit, too. Absolutely nothing interesting about this. And it's wasting my fucking time. Let's move on. Okay, Villainous Level 99. Off the list. Let's roll again. We are down to 20 random shows now. It's gonna be 6 again. Hokkaido gals are super adorable. Do not recall anyone talking about this show when it was airing. I'm going to assume it's some kind of slice of life, maybe even a rom-com. Let's find out. Okay. Fine. Whatever. Sorry, I am super sick of the Turbo Virgin rom-coms. I can't fucking stand them. I really cannot. I was afraid of talking to girls sometimes. A lot, actually, in high school. But I didn't think like this. It's so fucking weird. And, like, I don't fucking like this main character. He is so fucking lame and boring. There's nothing interesting or unique about him in any way whatsoever. And he's not fun. In fact, this show is not really fun at all, to be honest. The only thing I can get about this is, yeah, it does pretty well in capturing the visual appeal of a cute gyaru. The main love interest, I presume this is going to be a rom-com. Maybe. She is very cute. I will give it that much. But that's about it. The main dude is so fucking lame and boring. I hate him. This is not the kind of rom-com I want to watch. Next. Okay, Hokkaido gals off the list. Let's roll again and see what we get. It's a 5. Tale of Wedding Rings. Okay. The only one I saw talk about this show was Nino, and he described it, I believe, as glorious trash. Something along those lines. Let's see what this is about. Well, at least I actually got to the isekaiing part this time. But, just barely. I got a little over halfway through the first episode of Tale of Wedding Rings. It's totally average. Unremarkable. Plain. Nothing particularly wrong about it other than the fact that these characters are like the most basic personalities you could get without having no personality. It's fine. Animation's pretty weak though. I do not like the color design. I do not like the aesthetic. I do not like the... Aside from the fact that the main girl is really hot, I don't really like the character designs. It's... If there was literally anything of interest in this first half episode, I would have given this second half a shot, because this is an ecchi harem isekai, which you don't get very often, surprisingly. In fact, you really don't get much ecchi at all anymore. And I'll be honest, it's a little on the one hand, a little disappointing. On the other hand, most ecchi anime have been shit anyway. I just have no motivation to watch any more of this. If I want my harems to have a really fun central protagonist. And this guy is not interesting in any way whatsoever. He is so fucking boring. But let's move on. Okay, Tale of Wedding Rings, off the list. Let's see if the next one has anything interesting to offer whatsoever. 18. The Legend of Supernormal Professor Chiba. This is one of those weird shorts that I don't think anyone gives a shit about except me because I make this show. Let's give it a shot. So, bit of a correction I have to make. Apparently I mistyped something. It's not Professor Chiba. it's Prefecture Chiba. So on all the websites I was using, they abbreviated it as PREF, and I misread that as PROF, which is kind of funny, considering that I put as much effort into getting the title right as this show put into being a good show. There's nothing here. It's barely animated. It's mostly just stills of poorly drawn anime girls. Not only that, but apparently I had already dropped the series that came before this, and I didn't realize it until like 2 minutes in that I had dropped a series from 2020 that is in the same franchise as this. And it took me until like 2 minutes in to go like, wait a minute. This feels like a sequel to something that I missed. Apparently I didn't miss it. I just dropped it. Brr. Fuck it. Let's move on. Oh, it's also not very funny in any way whatsoever. It's lame. Okay, super normal Prefecture Chiba. It's coming off the list. We're down to 20 shows total, but 17 randoms still. So let's see what we get next. 4. The wrong way to use healing magic. I heard this one sucked ass. Let's find out. You see, this show is the reason why I do the seasonal wrap-up show, because that was pretty decent. I watched all of the wrong way to use healing magic, and I had a pretty decent time. Pretty rocky in the middle, but overall good. What I kind of appreciated about this one is that it, in sort of the intangible ways, just that it really lays out right at the beginning of like this, why this person is our main character, Usato, is likable. Like it's a really interesting way of doing like a average guy. Like, I noticed it right away because there's a lot of Japanese media, or a lot of anime is like, I just want to be normal and average and I don't want to stick out and I'm totally fine. And then this guy is like, I am totally normal and average, but you know what? I wouldn't mind some like excitement. I wouldn't mind a little bit more praise from other people, so on and so forth. And it's like a very mild and very like normal human desire. Like, yeah, sometimes you just want a little bit more out of your life. You want a little bit more status, so on and so forth. Oh, I completely forgot. So, this is in fact an isekai, as you might guess. And I will freely admit this is there are no surprises in this show. It is very tropey and very straightforward in what it is conveying. You see a lot of the tropes that you're used to. Sometimes there's like some flips here and there, but for the most part, you can predict a lot of the plot. Not all of it, but a lot of it. But it does so in a very comfortable way. It does so in a very fun way. I think the first few episodes are probably the best part of this series, just because it really gets you into this like semi-comedic mindset of how this whole world is structured. It's very like, there is a goal, and it's a serious goal for the characters, but also there is some like absurdity wrapped up in it to keep the tone light on the whole. And it's also a very interesting uh, interesting take on the healer concept, like the class of healer in like a fantasy setting. Because most of the time, I don't know how it is in anime, but I should know how it is in anime, but I actually, now that I think about it, they don't really broach the subject, but like most of the time in like tabletop RPGs and stuff like D&D and Pathfinder stuff, I don't know specifically which ones, but like in general it's sort of a rule of like the healer can't heal themselves. Or at least that's sort of like, or at least the healer doesn't waste time healing themselves. Whereas in this anime, that's like a very large chunk of this opening, where it's like they're physically training non-stop, and they're using, and Usato's using healing magic to heal his exhaustion and his tired muscles so that he can continue working out. And I thought that was really cool. I feel like I've seen it somewhere else before, but I can't recall where, but it doesn't matter since this show uses it very well. And the funny hijinks and torturous training that Usato has put through is very nice and pleasant to watch. This was just a very pleasant series. I loved our senpai character, Suzume, who gets isekai'd along with Usato and this other guy, Kazuki. I like that she takes on the trope of, like, the fantasy nerd. Like, at first, she's introduced as this very cool, stoic student council president. But then once she gets to the fantasy setting, she's like, holy shit, this is awesome! Look at all this cool shit! I loved that about her. It easily made her one of the best characters to follow in this show. The vibes are good. Now, I will say, there are some writing issues. There are definitely a lot of moments in this show where it's like, okay, you're doing exposition in the form of speech now. It's like, you are doing a speech where plot is being conveyed. Or it's like, you are doing a speech where characterization is being conveyed. You are doing a speech where character development is being conveyed. And it did there were a lot of moments that felt very stiff and awkward like that. And it's kind of sporadically done throughout the series, but I liked our main cast so much that it didn't bother me as much as it would have if I didn't like these characters. It's just I just really like the foundation that the series laid at the beginning, because it helped me get through a lot of dumb shit later on. Well, not dumb shit, more like lame shit, like the backstory flashbacks for Usato's teacher, Rose. That just straight up sucked. And it took like an episode and a half. Might have been even longer. No, I think it was 2 full episodes. It took up 2 full episodes. I was expecting it to only be 1, because that's kind of standard usually. Especially for like a single core thing like this. But, man, it goes. It just keeps going. And you already know from the beginning, like, all of the characters you meet are going to die horribly. And there's not a lot of effort put into making them fun characters as opposed to the rest of the cast. They are so tropey and 2 years away from they are so tropey and like saccharine and a week away from retirement, and then they get offed in a really not well executed scene. I feel like those 2 episodes could have just been one episode. It was not paced well, and there's just a lot of dumb shit in it. So I think that could have been condensed down, and so we could have had a 12 episode series instead of a 13 episode series, and then maybe the visuals could have been a little bit better, because this is a totally average looking show. It is not particularly good and not particularly bad looking. It is, I like the character designs. Sometimes they get a little wonky, and sometimes the facial features look a little forced sometimes. But overall, I think they are good designs. I like Suzume's design. There's a cute little fox girl at one point. The demon general that they capture is super fucking cute. Also, this anime has a habit of just putting girls' asses smack dab in the middle of the camera. On the one hand, kind of gross, but on the other hand, I like me some anime girl butt. So, give and take. Yeah, this is a really fun show. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a head fog from, I hope it's allergies, because I was just sneezing constantly all fucking day. Yeah, in short, when this show is trying to be, like, funny and lighthearted, but also trying to accomplish something, that's when it's at its best. Like, Usato's training arc, like, when he gets thrown into the forest in like, episode 4 or 5 or something. That was a really good episode. And when it's trying to be very serious and, like, dramatic and fighty, it's not that good. So, give and take. This was a fun show. I'm glad I do the seasonal wrap-up show so that I didn't miss it. Alright, wrong way to use healing magic is complete. We're going to put you in the number 9 spot for now with a decent 6. Fun times is good. Okay. We're going to do 2 more randoms, I think, before jumping to our next end cap. What number was that? That's 16. So let's see what we roll. 2. What is it? Solo leveling. Okay, this was one of the big ones from this season. Big action title. Let's see if I am in the yay camp or the nay camp. Let's do it. That is an extremely well animated and very, very dumb show. I got through 2 episodes of Solo Leveling, mostly because I just wanted it. Now, I'll give it this. It's compelling. I will give it that. Sorry, I think I'm losing my voice a little bit or something. And, like, I want to know what happens next purely out of curiosity. But goddamn, this show is dumb. Like, okay, so this is adapted from a manhwa, which is, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which is basically a Korean manga. So, same as, like, Tower of God, God of High School, Noblesse. And I've only liked one so far, and that was Tower of God, because it was in the hands of very, very good staff. Kevin Penkin did the soundtrack for it. That certainly helped. But this show, Solo Leveling, is super fucking dumb. Like, the characters so far, except for the main guy, all seem to be idiots. So, it's like, I don't know what demographic this particular manhwa is aimed at, considering there's a lot of fucking violent death in it. It can't be for little babies. And I figured out the dungeon like the rules for the dungeon almost immediately, except for the second rule. Like that was the second rule where they had to run to the instrument statues. That's the only one that had even a modicum of intrigue to it. It's like first commandment, praise God. No shit. Bow your head. Or revere God. Bow your heads. No shit. And also they have basically no sense of like self-preservation whatsoever. Like they take a vote to go into this secret path in a dungeon even though they know it's going to be riskier. Why didn't anyone leave, any of the no votes just leave? Like they didn't establish that it would get them kicked out of whatever guild they were in or whatever. Actually, I don't think they're even in a guild. I think it's just people kind of show up. So there was nothing stopping them from just leaving before they got to the dungeon. So that's dumb of them. What really bothered me though was like at the very end, our main character, Jinwoo, I think his name is, he starts like hating the guy who left on his own. So it's like basically the last part of this dungeon is everybody but one person can leave. And so like one of the guys peels off, he's like, I don't want to die yet, and so he leaves. And at the very end when it's just Jinwoo left in there, he starts like having this angry monologue against this guy in his head because he's like, yeah, everyone else doesn't want to die. But I'm like, no, he was right to leave. He figured it out. Like, you guys go into dungeons knowing that you're going to die, but that doesn't mean you have to stay knowing that you're in a situation where you are very, very likely to die. Like, this show has no sense of self-preservation. Everyone in the show is a fucking idiot except for Jinwoo. The person who I believe is going to be a love interest is so fucking stereotypically girl. Like she's a B rank healer, but she buckles under pressure. And she becomes a crying, sobbing mess that is utterly useless to the party. How progressive of you. And again, it's very well animated. The violence is really fucking good. The, like, attack effects are really good. It's got great color design. And out of just like morbid curiosity, I am curious as to where this goes, because apparently by being this sacrifice and making it to like the very end of the timer at the end, he's going to get like superpowers that boost his level. But I don't care because I don't fucking like this guy. This guy has no sense of self... Again, no one in the show has any sense of self-preservation. Like, he's like... This guy doesn't have a passion for being in these dungeons. Oh, by the way, I should mention that this show is basically just Gate, but without dick riding the JSDF. If anyone remembers Gate from, what was that, 2014? It's basically that, but without the boner for the military. Although there might be a boner for the military, we just haven't seen it yet. But yeah, this guy, he doesn't seem to have a passion for being a dungeon crawler, basically. He's just doing it so that he can afford money for his sick mom and to put his sister through college because his dad left. But, like, there are other jobs that probably pay more and are less dangerous Because he says up front that he doesn't make a lot of money from doing this because he's such a low-ranked adventurer. So, go do something else. You could work double shifts and pull in a decent amount of money. It's not great, it's gonna suck, but you're not gonna die, and you're not gonna get stabbed by goblins. Fuck, this show is stupid. Okay, solo leveling off the list. We got 15 left, so we're gonna do one more random for today's video. Let's see what that random is. 12. Pon no Michi. This is another one that didn't get picked up for streaming. It is on a YouTube channel, I think, so I guess it's technically licensed by somebody. No clue what it's about, though. So let's find out. I'll be honest, the only reason I made it to the halfway point of this episode was because it's about Mahjong, and I was genuinely curious about the basics of Mahjong because I've never known how to play it, ever. So now I have a very basic understanding of the rules. But this show is not interesting. Well, it's not interesting, it's just not good. For starters, the music is super overbearing. Like, it opened on like this just like nice little calm, relaxing piece of like, oh, the music is kind of nice. And then it just launches into this fucking over-the-top comedic nonsense that, like, what's the word? Drowns out the actual, like, dialogue. It's, like, really bad. It's not good music, and it's poorly, like, balanced. The audio is poorly balanced, so it's very distracting. Animation's pretty mediocre. I like the character designs, sort of, but they also feel kind of wonky. And there's a lot of like very, what do you call it? It's like superfluous animation that doesn't feel right. It feels like they are trying to do Sakuga, but with character acting. But it just doesn't work, and it looks weird and off. It's just weird. It's a very weird phenomenon. Also, this is up on the YouTube channel. Animation Digital Network is the official licensor, I guess. And, like, hold on. They have, I need to show you this. They have this fucking logo watermark at the top of the screen, but you can see there's like a blue gradient in the corner behind it. So it's just like super distracting when you're watching it to just see that blue gradient layered over everything. It's very weird. So yeah, this is a show that's basically going to teach people how to play Mahjong, I guess. I don't really have any interest in that, and I don't find the show all that funny or well put together, so we're just going to move on. Alright, Pon no Michi is coming off the list, which means it is time for a end cap, which is going to be The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. This was a surprise hit in last year's spring season, I think it was. So very excited to see where it goes. Let's jump into it. God damn, man. What a fucking glow up this series has gotten since its first episode. I remember when this show was below a 7.0 on Mal, and now, like, the first season, and now the second season has, what, like an 8.86 or something? And well deserved. that was fucking great. Now, if you want to hear my thoughts on like the base structure of the series and what makes it good, you can go back to my spring 2023 episodes and find it in there. But I'm going to talk I want to talk specifically about what makes season 2 great. First of all, complete story. Well, complete romantic arc, I should say. Which I was not sure we were going to get. Because I looked up where... Yeah, spoiler, we get a confession in the final episode. And it was fucking great. It was big and bombastic and filled with character development, as these things usually are. And character resolutions and stuff. And I was concerned while watching this that we weren't going to get this, because I hadn't heard anything about a season 2 or a season 3 announcement. So I was like, oh man, this show's not going to get another season. But and because I think it's like in like the 100-somethings that in the manga that they actually get to the confession. I don't know what rate the anime has been adapting at, but I doubt that it's that fast. So I'm going to assume that they either moved some stuff around or they just wrote an original ending for this series. Either of which I am fine with, because this was it was really fucking good. We got 25 episodes and then we got the confession. Fucking... That's, like, almost ideal for me. Actually, I don't know what ideal is for, like, rom-com confession speeds for me. Because, like, Kaguya-sama did it in 3 seasons in a movie. So, well, 3 seasons, and then the movie extended the confession. But, man... I'm just elated with the ending of this series. It was cute and wholesome and fun and very fulfilling. Much like the entire series on the whole. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that this second season really expounded on a lot of the, like, a lot of characterization, both for our main couple of Ichikawa and Yamada, and the cast as a whole. Like, the cast for season 1 wasn't, like, bare bones by any stretch, but, man, they really beefed it up in season 2. We got some stuff with, Adachi, I think? The sandy-haired kid. A lot of stuff with Yamada's group of friends and how they relate to Yamada and how they relate to Ishikawa. And basically the different ways that each of them try to help these two towards a confession. It was... I'm very shocked by how memorable the cast became in this series. Like, the families became really interesting characters. I love Yamada's dad as, like, this very quiet gamer. Like, it's like, I'm in love with your daughter. Here's my friend code. We're gonna play Monster Hunter. Fucking phenomenal. The other couple in this series, was it Kanzaki and Hara, provided a really interesting contrast to Yamada and Ishikawa, which there's one line in this series that I don't think got enough attention, or at least in the series they don't, like, dwell on it enough, but it just, like, struck me. Like, there's, like, it's basically like, oh yeah, me and Kanzaki Kanzaki's like, me and Hara go out to eat here all the time, but we're not but we're not, like, officially dating yet. And Ichikawa's like, you go out on dates here all the time, but you're not going out yet? What kind of fucking sense does that make? And Hara just stares daggers at him like pot meat kettle. It was so funny, and it was a really great way of like being like, yeah, okay, these characters are very fully aware of how they feel about each other. It's just a matter of them getting the nerve to say it to each other and like getting to a point with themselves where they feel that they are solid enough as people to be part of a relationship, because that's what really makes this series so great, is the way that both Ichikawa and Yamada grow as over the series. I like some of the like extra characterization they added for Yamada in this, like the we learned that she's like a little bit of a crybaby in this one, and that like she's prone to just kind of buckling under pressure when it gets too much, and we only get to see that because of how close she's gotten to Ichikawa. And of course Ichikawa, his whole internal monologue, that buff self that he talks to, is fucking hilarious and also incredibly powerful as a tool for characterization. They fucking pulled a Gurren Lagann moment in episode 8, I think, during the farewell speech, and just seeing these two extremely awkward teenagers figure themselves out through their romantic entanglements with each other, using that help, being able to figure themselves out through that in order to become people that they can like rely on romantically, is just a really, it really puts it right in the foreground of like, they haven't confessed yet because they have shit that they are working through. It's not like a bunch of like miscommunications or anything, or just like it's not just being too cowardly. That's part of it, but it is like they are just not there yet, with Ichikawa just being so horribly self-degrading and believing that he's not worthy of something like that because he thinks he's a terrible person. It's damn good writing. And a lot of that is helped along by how gorgeous this show is. It's not like, I will say, it's not at like a Apothecary Diaries level, just to compare it to something else from this season, but man, for a school rom-com, it really doesn't get a whole lot better looking than this. The character designs are super crisp and detailed, and the facial expressions are so nuanced and detailed. There's just the lighting's pulling a lot of work in this series. There wasn't as much color play as there was in the first season. Like, I remember the Christmas episode in the first season had some really strong color design stuff, but still there was some. I think the lighting definitely took over, like the visual emotional control for this series. And there's a lot of really solid like cinematography in this too. Like, there's some really interesting ways of like splitting the frame and framing people within the frame. Like, there was this one shot where it's like Yamada is hiding the fact that she's might be skipping out on an audition from Ichikawa, and the way that the anime shows it is it's like you could see you have Ichikawa in the foreground looking at his reflection in the mirror, or not in the mirror, in the window, and then there's the panel, like the panel break for the window, and then on the next window over you see Yamada's like troubled expression, and you see her reflection, and it's just really subtle but really solid cinematography like that. Like there's not like a very harsh break between the two, but it's a very quick frame, relatively quick. And this show is just littered with stuff like that. And then of course fucking Kensuke Ushio on the soundtrack, just these incredibly emotional, resonant audio cues and these piano numbers. Just, I think Kensuke Ushio is coming very close to becoming my new favorite soundtrack composer for anime. Mostly because Taku Iwasaki just doesn't do anything anymore. Like, he did Bungo Stray Dogs, and I don't know what he did before seasons 4 and 5. It might have been season 3 of Bungo Stray Dogs. Yeah, this is easily one of the best anime rom-coms that I've ever seen. It is definitely up there. It's funny. I didn't even get to that. It's so fucking funny. There are some like really genuinely good laughs in here, and it's like the timing is fucking perfect. The melodramatic elements are just the right level of cheese and teenage angst. Like, this show is really great at framing things through like the lens of, yeah, these are problems that matter to a 14-year-old. Maybe they're not a super big deal in this grand scheme of things, but it does matter to these characters. Like when Yamada loses her dog keychain that was part of a pair with Ichikawa, and she gets very emotional about that. And then we have Ichikawa rushing to the rescue to help her find it. It does such a great job of showing what things matter to these characters and how those things draw them closer to each other. This is a fucking great series. If you can, I said this in the first entry, but if you can roll with the cringe, and not cringe bad, but like the cringe of, oh, he's just like me, oh no, oh, this hurts, ooh, oof, ow, my bones. If you can roll with that kind of cringe, you're gonna have a really fucking great time here. And some of that cringe is still here. There is definitely still a lot of cringe moments in this. But our boy is growing up. And he's not completely over his fucking cringe, creepy stuff. But he's getting there with the help of his new girlfriend. And she is working through her own, what she wants to do with her life through the help of her new boyfriend. Yep, Dangers in My Heart is really damn good. Alright, The Dangers in My Heart Season 2 is complete. And we're going to scroll pretty high up to the top. Not at the number 1 spot, but in the number 2 spot. And you're getting a light 9. That's 2 favorites already from the winter season. Things are going really damn well. Danger's in My Heart. Fucking incredible.